Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk Show. I'm your host, Hassan, and today I have with me Adil, and we have a new joinee, Steve, who's a football coach in the Bedfordshire district. Today, we'll be discussing the West Ham versus Spurs game. First, I wanted to ask Steve, what did you make of the first half?
Well, I thought West Ham started the game really quickly. They started on the front foot. I think they kind of understood that Spurs are slow starters, and if they could get at them early, get themselves in the ascendancy, that would put Tottenham on the back foot, and that they would have the initiative in the game. So and they went straight ahead. 5 minutes in, they went and scored straight away. Bit of fortune on their right side of midfield. Souček was involved. He's been a big player for West Ham. Far too strong for Reguilon, who just got knocked off the ball. Spurs stopped playing, and West Ham capitalised on that. Dier didn't attack.
Great ball in from Bowen, really.
Yeah, it was. It was a cracking ball, but it's still there to be attacked. There was still a lot of work to do from Antonio's perspective, and you'd think that Spurs had enough back there to cover that situation. Dier could have cleared it. Lloris should have held it or pushed it, away to a position of safety, rather than kind of spilling it back into Antonio's path. And he's going to lap that up, which he did. So that put them ahead.
I mean,
that was good start from them.
On the point Steve made, where did they? Could have resolved that issue really. Where did they go wrong? Where did Spurs go wrong in terms of defending?
I think in that first half is very similar to what we said about the second half performance against City, where off the ball, Spurs were very passive. So they're dropping deep and they're just allowing the play to happen in front of them without actually really pressuring. So it's quite strange because you've got numbers in defense, you've got, really Antonio, the only threat in the box, and still you manage to end up giving him 2 bites within your 6-yard box. And if you look at the whole lead up to the goal, there was just a distinct lack of pressure on West Ham. Souček won the ball twice, wanted it more. The ball in from Bowen, he was able to take a touch, look up, pick his spot. And then obviously, like Steve alluded to, it just feels like Dier is constantly just guessing where that ball is going instead of actually looking at the ball and attacking it. And I've seen it a lot. I mean, he does that a lot where he goes towards the front post and completely abandons the center of the 6-yard box. And then, Lloris could definitely have pushed it the other side instead of back into the danger zone. But I think, and you can also question whether Lloris should have really tried coming out and punching that out, because that was literally 3 yards from goal, the initial shot. So again, it's that passive mindset that is what's worrying. I think Spurs, in their attempt to try and be more of an attacking team, they've become passive off the ball. They've lost their identity off the ball. That's what it seems like from the last, but certainly the second half of the City match and the first half of this match. There's no pressure on the West Ham players.
I mean, you mentioned about Dier, really. Do you reckon he's kind of caught in too much? Because he does play midfield, and obviously now he's kind of turned into being a centre-back for Jose Mourinho. Steve, do you think the lot of the problems that Adil's been mentioning is due to the fact that obviously now he's been told to play centre-back, and whether when you're playing in a different position, you're trying to cover, do I be in position or do I go and attack the ball? Do you think that confusion has come in?
I think so, but I think obviously, just for clarity, I think Dier is the one that has stated that he wanted to be regarded as a centre back. Mourinho has sought Dier for quite a while. So when Mourinho was at Man United, he wanted to sign Dier. He saw him as an intelligent kind of utility player, and who could have been used either as centre back or as a holding midfielder. And Dyer decided that he wanted to kind of nail down a position. Now, given the troubles, I mean, that we may end up coming on to in a little while, that Tottenham have, that decision probably is wrong for Dyer, because he could probably have sat alongside Højbjerg really well, you know, and done a good job. But as you say, I think in terms of him in that centre-back position, he's too passive, and I don't think he has enough positional awareness of what's going on around him. I think, as Adil said, that, you know, he's in two minds, and I think there was a point, there was a throw-in that West Ham had, and he steps forward and they throw the ball in behind him, and the guy's on the touchline, and he's, rather than drop him back to stop that throw, he steps further forward. Now, I'm not sure if the Spurs defender's unaware that players can't be offside directly from a throw. I have no idea what the situation is, but to step forward and and encourage that throw rather than to set back and discourage it, or you know, maximise your opportunity to cut the ball out, shows just that defensive naivety that he has, and gets exposed constantly.
He gambles a lot.
He does, but not. I don't think he gambles with the knowledge of what the consequences are going to be. You know, so he'll gamble and step forward, or, as you say, he steps, you know, to the front post, and not aware of, you know, what's going on behind him. But there's been games, you know, I think Liverpool game where he, you know, and you've probably spoken about this in the past, but where he lets the ball go across him, hoping that Lloris is going to come and clear it, rather than taking the initiative and just saying, well, Lloris hasn't claimed the ball, like, my job is to clear the ball. If Lloris doesn't claim it, I just have to clear the ball. Yeah, exactly.
But I think the problem is he's seen as one of the untouchables under Mourinho. So what happens is, you see a lot of the times the mistake is Dyer makes the mistake, and then he's shouting at someone else, and he's telling someone else, and you just think it's your fault though, and no one's saying anything back, because he's one of the leaders of the team. And I think a lot of the reasons why Mourinho likes him is because of the fact that he can speak to him in Portuguese, and Dyer is like a lieutenant of Mourinho. He'll tell Mourinho what's going on, what players are saying behind his back, things like that. And I think that's why Spurs have a problem, because I just can't see you know, I just don't see Dyer as a top level defender.
Exactly, and I don't see him being, as you say, like, he's certainly one of Mourinho's trusted players. He spoke about him in that respect, but you know, he's caused so many errors in the last few games that you'd think that Mourinho would say, look, okay, you know, enough is enough. I need to make the best decision for, you know, for the sake of the team, and make a change. You know, Dyer alongside Toby Alderweireld looked okay. But that's where Toby Alderweireld is being the senior defender and the one that's directing. But where Dyer is the senior defender and the one that's directing, I don't think he has that leadership. He doesn't have the leadership qualities to do that and to organise at the back, and that's why the Spurs defence look like they don't actually know what they're doing and where to be at when.
Thank you, Steve. I mean, on that point, really, we kind of spoke about it briefly in the last Tottenham game, really, with regards to how they lined up. And I do, again, they went for a similar setup where they're going very attacking. Is Mourinho picking that, or is he being forced by the fans asking for a more attacking lineup, a more attacking way of play? And because it just seems a bit disjointed, really.
I think it's a combination of the results up to now, plus you know, obviously there's murmurs in the background from fans and pundits about the style that, but I don't think this change would have happened if they were getting results when they were playing the other way. But I think you know, looking at the last two results, and that's looking at the last two results, you'd have to question whether it's the right idea to do this now, because it seemed like they were getting better results when they were playing their normal low block counter attacking, that 2-punch combo of Kane and Sung. It was definitely more successful than what we're seeing now. So you have to question that approach. I was surprised to see Tanganga start again on the right hand side. I'm not sure, because that first half, what struck me was the amount of rotations the forward players kept doing. At one moment, Lamella's playing in the 10, then him and Ndombele switch, and Ndombele is playing in the 10, and you see Lamela in central midfield, then you see Lamela on the right, and Moura on the 10, and I just think, it's hard to settle them. And maybe that was one of the reasons why Lamela got taken off at halftime, because even though he seemed like the most likely player to actually create in that first half, he got taken off, maybe because he was roaming from position to position too much. I'm not sure. But I certainly noticed in the first half that he played a lot of different positions.
I mean, Sky Sports I think Jamie Redknapp or someone mentioned, Lamela's been the best player for Spurs in the first half. So what do you make of it, Steve, that him getting taken off in the second half? Do you agree with Adil, the fact that maybe because he was roaming too much, that's why he got taken off? Because everything was kind of going through him. So what do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because like the rotation within the team is a feature of the team, and and if it works well, then no one kind of looks at it. But it's clear that the system wasn't working, and I think if anyone was going to be taken off, I thought at half time it would have been Moura. I thought that Moura wasn't contributing, and you'd think that of all those players, actually, it was going to be Moura that was going to come off. Now, making that change to take off Lamela, I think it still gave Moura it made the structure a little bit more organised, I think. So, like, Ndombele had to stay a bit deeper. Højbjerg had someone that would sit alongside him a little bit more. And then you had really the rotation between Son, Kane and Bale up top, and then Moura looking to join on. And that helped, I think, to give Tottenham a little bit more shape, and to have a bit more creativity and exploit the spaces between the lines, so between the units, the defensive unit and the midfield unit of West Ham, so they could get on the ball a lot more and dominate the game a lot more. So I think the other thing that the observation I had from the first half was that the players, certainly the Tottenham players, wanted a little bit too much time on the ball. So as you say, like they were doing really well as a team when they had this low block system and looking to counter. Whereas obviously in this game they had the lion's share of the possession and had to make the most of it and make it count. Now, doing that means you have to move the ball a lot quicker than Tottenham were doing. There'd be a touch and you'd think, okay, there's an opportunity to play the ball out wide or to set the ball and move it on. But rather than doing that, they might the player on the ball would turn around and go out the other way. And a lot of time, actually, that was probably Lamela, and it was Lamela and Moura that were the ones that were in those areas centrally that needed to make those decisions of how do I move the ball on. Moura is traditionally more someone that will run with the ball and is known for doing that, obviously. And because of that, is more likely, I guess, to draw free kicks. Lamela is someone that will move the ball on and help to move, get the play moving. But because he was doing so slowly, West Ham were able to get into shape and were never really under any serious threat, I don't think, in the first half, no matter how much possession that Tottenham had. So I think the change probably was correct. It wouldn't have been a change that actually I probably would have made at half time. As I say, it would have been Moura. But if you look back or not, if you reflect on it, after the event, then actually it's probably the right decision or the right change to make, in my opinion.
I mean, are they on that really? So, I mean, Steve mentioned some really good points with regards to how Tottenham kind of gained a bit more structure. Can you kind of give me a bit more insight into how they gained full-on control and start coming back into the game, really?
So what happened was in the first half, so Moyes set up West Ham really well to counteract the runs that Song makes. So what happened was you had Rice as the central CDM, and then Souček was actually just sitting on the right-hand side, CDM position, just blocking and tracking that run whenever Son ran in behind. So what happened was that nullified their threat. So I think that the whole game opened up when Bale came on, and I think maybe having Bale and Lamela on Lamela might have got into Bale's space. So clearly, I think it was probably the right decision. But what happened was that split Declan Rice, because now you had the dual threat from either side, and obviously Bale was having a lot of joy down the right-hand side against Cresswell. So what happened was then Declan Rice was having to come across, and that left gaps in the middle for Bale and everyone to pick it up and start having those long-range shots. And the thing is, a lot of the chances were still from a distance, but they were able to control and take over the match because of the fact that they were actually splitting the two CDMs. And so Souček nullifying Son, which he still continued to do during the whole game, but they had the dual threat of Bale, and that caused that they lost their protection from Rice. So I think tactically again, Mourinho showed something that was really interesting, definitely affected the game, but they just couldn't put the chances away. They hit the bar and the post. So, for all the pressure, you still feel like they lack a bit of a cutting edge still for someone to put a chance on a play. I mean, we got Kane, who's one of the most intelligent strikers, and his movement is amazing. But today, it just never felt like they were looking to find Kane. It was more Kane having to make something out of it, out of a situation. Even when Bale was in promising place, it's just literally lashing the ball across. It's not actually picking out someone.
So, I mean, in your opinion, do you think West Ham deserved the win? I mean, because obviously you're saying Tottenham came very strong in the second half and did create a lot of chances. But did West Ham deserve to win that game?
They scored the goals. Obviously, you could say second half, it's a game of two halves. I mean, first half, I would still say West Ham were the better team, even though Tottenham had a lot of the pressure. I think West Ham were comfortable with that, playing on the counter. And the fact that, Tottenham made the errors in defense. I mean, even if you look at the second goal, I mean, Lingard laps who's it, Doherty, I think, on the way to I mean, Doherty has about 2 yards on him at the beginning. So I'm not sure if it's Doherty or Sanchez, one of them, but either way, it's a soft goal. I mean, it was from a poor heavy touch, and Lingard shows more desire to get to it and get his shot across before any of the defenders. So I just feel like just on the errors and taking your chances, West Ham deserved it.
Steve, do you think the Spurs players are kind of lacking in confidence or motivation or desire to play, maybe under Mourinho? I mean, what's the real reason for this performance that keep coming out?
That one's hard to assess. I think they're certainly lacking in confidence. And you'd have to look at, I guess, if you look at the treatment of players like Dele Alli and some of the other players where they've made mistakes in games, and certainly Dele Alli is the worst subject for that. But having made a mistake in a game that probably wasn't a massive game, I think it was a Europa League game, tried a flick, You know, and eventually the game broke down, and the other team went down the other end and had a chance, I think.
Yeah.
And then he got pulled off, and rather than just sort of saying, okay, you know, that's what he does, Mourinho was like, well, you know, he made a mistake, turned over possession, put the team at risk. You know, and as a result, I was angry. And so the players are obviously playing in fear, and of either expressing themselves, number one, and secondly, making a mistake and being called out in public and not knowing that the manager's got their back and said, you know what, I've said to them, go and play like that. I've said to them, go and express themselves and play with freedom and, you know, and energy and just creativity that we know that some of those players have. So that stifles your creativity, and then you play within yourself, and that leads to what we're seeing at the moment. Because I think it does right. If you look at the game, West Ham certainly deserved, I think, the 3 points based on the fact that they capitalised on the mistakes that were made. You know, and you can see that within a Tottenham performance every game that there's going to be a mistake. So if Tottenham are going to win a game, they can't win a game 1-0. They're going to need to win a game by scoring maybe 3 goals, and it might be a 3-2 or a 4-2. You know that they're going to have to score at least 2 goals to have a chance of winning any game.
I mean, good valid points really. On the West Ham, I mean, the transition from last year to this year has been incredible, really, under Moyes, and they sit at 4th with 45 points. Adi, what do you think is the reasoning behind of their success and how they're doing at the moment? And I mean, sitting at 4th Champions League position, 2 points clear of the next team. What do you put it down to, really?
I think it all started with actually the sale of Diangana, because you know that everyone thought that looks like it's a club that's disunited, because Noble spoke out against the board about selling such a talent. But the way in which Moyes handled that, which he backed his players, I think that galvanized the team, and you could see straight away there was a unity within them. You could see, and Noble is the captain, you know, he's the club captain. So to publicly back him against the board looked risky at the time, but definitely paid dividends. So yeah, I think a lot started with that in terms of the players' commitment to Moyes and taking on everything that Moyes wants and the way he wants to play. But I just think it's a good fit. I mean, if you look at a lot of the pieces that West Ham have, it's a very similar setup to what he had at Everton. And the players suit that style, and it's just a club that you can tell Moyes is running that club. There's no disunity, there's no confusion around who's making the decisions around signings. Moyes is renowned for taking a really long time over scouting players before he makes a decision on signing them. He's very reluctant to spend money. He even did that at Man United, where he took so long to make a decision on players. That is the Moyes way. And you can see the West Ham board are buying into it and following, and he is leading the club. And the thing with Spurs is you don't know who is really leading the project there, you know, when it comes to signings, when it comes to the direction, the play. So I think what it is it's a good fit. Moyes knew the problems that were at the club from before, and now he's come in and he's been able to now fix it, because when they got rid of him, it all backfired. So I just think, it's a good fit, good manager at the level where he's comfortable at, where there ain't this extreme pressure, and he can get on with developing the team.
Last question, really, to see. Do you think Tottenham still have a chance to finish in Champions League, or what do you predict will happen with them?
Well, you'd think after this game today, you'd say no, but I think there's so many odd performances and results that have been going on this year that I don't think until they're mathematically out of it, I don't think you can write any team at the moment. You know, I think Tottenham have still got 42 points to play for in the league, which is a hell of a lot of points. Now, there's no way that they're going to get those 42 points. You won't expect there's no way you expect them to go and get 42 points out of 42. But you know, you can certainly see other teams dropping points, and you can see that some of the other teams around them will have a tricky run of fixtures that they need to navigate, whereas Tottenham have possibly been through the majority of those tricky fixtures already. So you would envisage them getting more points than them actually dropping if they can actually go on a run. And I think a lot of that comes down to whether Mourinho now has the courage to make the right decisions. So Bale, for example, should just be starting. That's a given. I would think now. He can't really use the excuse that he's not fit enough, or isn't committed enough, or just doesn't have the appetite for it, because the last couple of performances that Bale has given proves that actually he's still got a lot to offer. So, you know, if Mourinho wants to retain his position in that role, then he's going to need to call on someone like Bale to be playing at the top of his game. So yeah, I still think they've got a chance. I don't think they will achieve it. Personally, I don't think they'll achieve it. I think they'll finish in the Europa League places, but I think potentially they will see that that's the situation and potentially target winning the Europa League as a means to get in that Champions League space.
Yeah, I think that the dangle of winning the Europa League, I have a feeling a lot of the clubs who are chasing top four in the league may put their eggs into that basket more. And I do think the clubs that aren't in Europe, like West Ham and Everton, do have an advantage because they're fresher, they can go a lot harder. And you see it. I mean, West Ham were quite physical in the game, even though Tottenham responded with physicality as well. In the other matches as well, in the Merseyside derby, we said the same thing. Everton were more physical. And I think the teams that are in Europe have an advantage because they're going to be a lot fresher and they're able to give a lot more during the games to try and get the results. So a lot of those teams, I think, are going to end up putting the chance in their arm into the Europa Cup.
Thank you, guys. Some good information really come out of it in terms of how Tottenham really need to improve, and in terms of West Ham, how they're progressing really throughout this season. Thank you both. We also have, guys, another 3 episodes coming out. We have the Aston Villa versus Liverpool game. We have the analysis on the Arsenal versus Manchester City game. And we also have the Manchester United and Newcastle game coming up. So do keep an eye out. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you both for joining us today. I'll hope to see you soon.